There is a news conference scheduled at some point on this major bridge collapse in Baltimore. It was the Francis Scott Key Bridge. It was hit by a huge ship that was carrying container ship, and the bridge collapsed. I'm certain most of you, many of you, some of you, I don't want to assume things. I don't know where you are in your daily life, but some of you have seen the incredible video of the ship seemingly losing power, regaining for about 15 seconds, regaining power. This is overnight, in the overnight hours, regaining power. Thank God that this did not happen on a more heavily traveled time of day. I think I got the news conference. Well, this is from earlier this morning. So I got Governor Wes Moore of Maryland talking about it earlier this morning. And an aspect of this that we'll focus on first, because I don't know what's going on. I don't know what caused it. None of us know what caused it. And rampant speculation is going on social media platforms about, oh, I know there's a black swan event. Well, you don't know your butt front. Come on.
What's black swan event?
You don't know what a black swan? I didn't either. I had to look it up. Like a black swan is a rarity that gets a lot of attention, that focuses attention away from other things. September 11th was a black swan event.
Gotcha.
COVID-19 was a black swan event. All of these things are black swan. That's what we're calling them now. They're all head fakes. They're all black swan event. And if you don't know, then you're a sheep. You're naive. You don't get it, man. You don't get it. You don't understand the seriousness.
You're a plebe, man.
You know what? Not all conspiracy theories are wrong, but most are. Not all conspiracy theories are actually conspiracy theories. For example, our frustration with the level of government control that came about due to COVID-19 and the lies that our own government told us about the origins of COVID-19. The fact of the matter was that it was being worked on, gain-of-function research in Wuhan, China, the Wuhan Institute. And sadly, it escaped the Institute. Now, I don't know that we'll ever know whether it was intentional or unintentional, but that's what happened. And anyone that still clings to the bat meat theory, you're dumb. You're stupid. I'm sorry to tell you that. I don't mean to be blunt about it, but I would say you're ignorant, but there is a plethora of information available to you to help you make this determination. Now, that's not a conspiracy theory to say that. It is a fact that the government tried to cover that up. It's a fact that Anthony Fauci tried to cover that up. So that's not what I'm talking about. But there are plenty of conspiracy theories online that this falls right into. I mean, this falls right into that sort of category where people are already doing that. And you don't want to let the inmates run the asylum or let the knuckleheads run the narrative. One has been hospitalized and 6 individuals are unaccounted for after this major bridge collapse in Baltimore. So what we believe is that this huge ship carrying shipping containers, I don't know if it was loaded or unloaded. I imagine I could find that information out. It was heading toward the Francis Scott Key Bridge in the early morning hours of this morning. It lost power. The reason we know a couple of things. One, we know that it lost power in as much as the captain of the ship declared a mayday. More on that in a moment. You can see video. There's static video of the bridge. I mean, there's surveillance all over that bay. And there's static video of the bridge where you see the ship kind of going toward the opening, and then it loses power. All the lights go off on the ship. So that's obviously a massive power failure. And the ship starts drifting a little bit. And then moments before the collision with the pier on the bridge, the lights go off again. The lights come back on again. It looks like it lists to the right. Now, what our conspiracy theorist friends are speculating is that I've already looked all of this up. It's embarrassing, but they're suggesting that there was a strong lurch toward the pier, which indicates some level of terrorism or intentionality. And I don't know that that's the case or not, and nor do you.
But there's a submarine in the lake, and they pulled it towards the bridge to make sure it hit.
Little towboat, little towboat submarine. They latched onto it, latched onto that propeller, and yanked it right over.
And that was Al Qaeda that was in the submarine.
Sometimes an accident is just an accident. I am not suggesting that I have the information to know whether or not this is just an accident. Like 99.35. This is what you're getting. This is a good day to stay off social media. Based on how social media reacts to this. Because I love it. It is unfiltered. And you have to use the sense that God gave you. You have to understand your life experience, understand what you know to be true at the time that you're reading some of this garbage on social media, and do your own homework to figure out what's real and what's not real. That's up to you. That's not up to the government. It's not up to the platforms necessarily. It's up to you to determine what you believe and what you don't believe. And so I'm not knocking 99.35, but 99.35 says, oh, this bridge attack, he calls it an attack, looks like a trial run for the next round of attacks on multiple bridges. Or maybe it's just an accident. Eric writes in and says, cyber attack knocked out the power to the ship. Or maybe the power got knocked out another way.
If this was an accident, we would have seen ship issues thousands of years in the past. This is the first ship that's ever crashed into anything. We know.
I think you're making a good point. I think you're making a good point. Ships don't wreck.
Never happens. Never seen this happen in history.
This doesn't happen to ships. Ships don't wreck.
Titanic was a psyop.
Ships don't crash into things. Come on, man. Look it. I'm open for information. Oh, Dakota's gotten in on it. You know what? Let's go ahead and get in your best conspiracy theories on this and put it to bed, right? 615-737-9986. Dakota says, has anyone said alien tractor beam yet? I call alien tractor beam. Dakota's got alien tractor beam, everybody.
I know what happened. P. Diddy was piloting the ship.
Holy moly. Did he fly out of the country?
Yes. To a country with
no extradition to the United States of America?
Correct, yeah.
How in the hell? Don't get me started, Bell. Get ready, Bell. You're in for a problem.
Get ready, Bell. You're in for a problem.
I got to get the quote right. My apologies. Cue it up again. Let's do it again. Get ready, Bell. You're going to in for a problem.
Get ready, Bell. You're going in for a problem.
That's exactly right. How in the hell the FBI is so, I don't want to say worthless.
Why not? It's true.
Well, I understand that there's some good work that they do. I understand in field offices around the United States of America that they're trying to do their best to help with the scourge of human trafficking and other things. And so I don't want to cast that broad of a net. But my goodness gracious, the leadership of the FBI, how embarrassing. So was it not a coordinated effort on the part of the FBI to raid both of his properties? Yes or no? 3 properties? Yes or no? Yes? Okay. But you don't figure out how to make sure that he can't get out of the country? If you're investigating if you're investigating Sean P. Diddy Combs, who has in entertainment circles long been thought to be a pedophile, allegedly, how in the world do you not lock that down and make sure that he doesn't get the hell out of there? Which apparently he got the hell out of there. 8709 very expertly puts both stories together while we're on Conspiracy Theory Tuesday, saying this major human trafficking story comes out and a few hours later a container ship wipes out an entire 1.5 miles of bridge. That's suspicious. You're right about it, too. I think it was Bigfoot. Bigfoot on top of the Loch Ness Monster, says 6292, and maybe you're right. Giant magnets. You know, oh, yeah, you put a magnet under the pier, you put a magnet, stick a magnet next to the ship, oh, boom. Ken Tibbetts said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to read your last name there, Ken. It just kind of popped out. Ken writes in and says, I was in Florida in 1980 when a ship hit the Skyway. You know what we said back then? You know what they said back then? Ship hit a bridge. And it was true. We live in the era of conspiracy theory, unabated conspiracy theory online. You need to understand when to dismiss certain things. You don't have to believe everything that some jackass says online, folks. Come on. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's gather information. Let's make sure that we're getting what we believe to be accurate information. Let's vet through that information. Let's get to where the facts lead us. Let's raise questions when questions need to be raised. Let's demand answers when answers ought to be given. And let's move on from there. Let's not dabble in this, it was an electronic magnetic pulse and it's a test run for later on this year when they're going to do an electronic magnet.
Lizard people.
I just don't understand. I understand conspiracy theorists that they get a glee out of thinking that they know information that nobody else knows. And because typically speaking, real down in the dirt conspiracy theorists, they don't really have a life that they enjoy. They don't have a life that they enjoy living. And so they have to get enjoyment some way exterior to their life. And they oftentimes get that enjoyment out of coming up with these conspiracy theories that make themselves feel superior to everyone else. And it simultaneously does two things. They feel better than everyone else because they know what's really going on, and it gives them an excuse why their life has not happened in the way that they wanted it to happen. It gives them the ultimate excuse. Well, if there are powers that be, if the grand they are controlling things, well, I know the grand they are controlling things, therefore, obviously, the grand they're going to keep me down. They're going to hold me down. They're not going to allow me to accomplish those things that I wanted to accomplish in life. It's the biggest excuse. It's just ridiculous. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't shadowy figures that try to do shadowy things. That doesn't mean that some conspiracy theories are not borne out and we ultimately discover that they have truth inside of them. And many conspiracy theories have granules of truth that kind of hold the conspiracy theory together. It's like an egg in a crab cake. Huh? That is a Boston, Maryland reference. Damn, I'm good.
I don't get it. Egg in a crab cake.
Yeah,
what's that mean?
The egg's the binder that holds the crab cake together. Man.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Without that, the crab cake falls apart in the pan. Just like the conspiracy theory. Circle it back to Boston. Y'all don't deserve me. 6728 has now come up with my favorite. Members Nutrition Super Text line is up and running. Let me get the pleasantries out of the way real quick. 6728 says, all of this happened to cover up the huge Phil Williams story. Oh, it's big, baby. Phil Williams has undercovered the fact that there are individuals that go to the General Assembly and try to get members of the General Assembly to vote in a manner consistent with the issue that they're working on. Whoop-de-doo!
The conspiracy theorists are calling them lobbyists.
What? That's a new word. How do you spell that? That's a new word.
Lizard.
I thought you were going to start it with ERT. Anyway, that's the main story that we're covering today. I'm giddy and in a mood. It's 12:18 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Okay, let me tell you how you can watch or listen to this radio show, and I hope you do for the full 3 hours. We're on 99.7 FM all throughout Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama. You can find us on your internet streaming platform of your choosing, whatever one you use, whether it's, iHeart, Spotify, whatever it is. If you stream music, news, or information on a platform, you can find us, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Download us and take us where you go. You can also find our app right there on your app store, Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and then there's Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. We call it Headless Spell because Headless Spell refuses to participate on Super Talk TV. We imagine it's because of the multiple warrants. It's episode 539 of our proceedings today.
It's because of the multiple warrants.
Okay, it's because of the multiple warrants. It's episode 539 on this March 26, 2024, and today's television episode is entitled
Matt Murphy, the container ship to your political bridge. Hold tight. Libertarian lunch, noon to 3. Tip your server.
Yeah. Second show's non-smoking. So we expect that there will be a news conference at some point during our portion of the day. I think okay, they're now saying it's going to be at 1:30. So we'll carry that as we can live at 1:30 Central Time on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 1:30, 1:35, thereabouts. We will carry that for you because many of you are concerned about what's going on. Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott said in a press conference earlier today, as search and rescue efforts continued, that the container shipper that caused the major collapse of the bridge in Baltimore issued a mayday call before he actually hit the bridge, indicating that he had lost power shortly before he struck the bridge's piling, allowing state officials to close the bridge to traffic in a move that probably saved multiple lives. You can see in the horrifying video of the scene, and if you go online, you can find it. This is incredible. You see the cars just going across the bridge as the shipping container is approaching the bridge. You see the shipping container lose its power. One would expect that's the point. Conspiracy theories aside, I mean, we'll figure out why power was lost, and maybe it was. It could be anything. I'm not dismissing any of these theories. I'm saying that none of you actually know. It's just wild speculation on the part of all of us right now. So you see the power go out on this huge ship, this cargo ship carrying all of these shipping containers. One would assume that it was at that point that the captain of the ship declared a mayday and alerted authorities regarding the bridge that they needed to stop anyone from crossing the bridge because they had no idea if they were going to have control of the ship or not. It was at that point that workers on the bridge stopped. It was a part of Interstate 695, which is a loop around Baltimore. Happened about 1:30 in the morning on the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Caused the central section of the bridge. It's a 1.6-mile bridge, and the central section has toppled into the water. The ship's lights, I should say, can be seen cycling on and off moments before it struck, indicating that it had major power issues. Federal, state, and local authorities are coordinating search and rescue efforts. Maryland Transportation Secretary Paul Wiedenfield said 8 people were on the bridge when it collapsed, and 2 of those individuals were rescued. One of them's in the hospital. The other did not suffer injuries. 6 remain unaccounted for. Can you imagine being the person that didn't suffer the injuries? My goodness gracious.
When you're watching the video, there is one point in the video right before he hits the piling where you see a good 5 or 6 cars on the bridge, and one of them is like a semi, and that guy's got to be thinking, holy crap, how close did I just come to buying it? Because he literally gets over the bridge just seconds before it comes down.
You know, life is all about awareness of missed opportunities in some ways, but there is a hidden unawareness of the times in our lives where we were moments away from or inches away from death, and we'll never know it. We'll never know it. I saw an interview with, it's rare that you do have an awareness of these moments. Give you an example, Seth MacFarlane, and there are several of these examples, but I'll give you an example. Seth MacFarlane, who is the creator of Family Guy, amongst other things. He was slated to be on one of the planes that crashed into the Twin Towers. I think it was the second plane, and I forget which number that was. I think it was Flight 11, but I'm not sure. And he's given interviews about this and admitted that he was partying the night before in New York, that he woke up to a phone call from his agent. Are you at the airport yet? No, my gosh, your flight's about to get out of here. Go. You got to get to that flight. He rushed to the airport and missed the flight. He would have been on the plane that crashed into one of the World Trade Center towers. Having that level of awareness about that sort of thing is rare in life. How many times do we miss a light and we have to sit there at the red light and we are blissfully unaware that if our presence had existed beyond the red light, if we had made the light, that we might crash into the semi-truck that's plowing through the next red light and we're gone. We don't know. Those cars that passed that way seconds before this accident happened, they well know how lucky they are. The Dolly is a Singapore-flagged container ship managed by Synergy Marine Group. according to ship tracking data reviewed by Reuters News.